What is up, my friends? So, this community is incredible, and I want to express my gratitude by sharing with you all the greatest gift that's ever been shared with me. And in my opinion, really the greatest gift that's ever been shared with humanity. And that is the art and science of meditation. Now, I'm going to try to make this concise. So, we all know that we have this supercomputer called our brains, and that's awesome. And you can think of that as the hardware. And just like how all hardware has its partner software, well, we have the hardware that is your brain, and then you also have the software that is your consciousness. And I want you to imagine trying to run 1990s Photoshop on, oh, I'm sorry, I messed that up. I want you to imagine trying to run 2025 Photoshop on a 1990s computer. Try to imagine running 2025 software on outdated hardware. It's going to be clunky. It's going to suck. So, the brain and consciousness work similarly. As you upgrade the one, the other follows suit. And sometimes it's an upgrade in consciousness that upgrades the brain, other times it's vice versa. But what meditation allows for us to do is to literally grow certain parts of our brain that I'll talk about in a second, which lead to the development of higher consciousness. So, what are those parts of the brain? We've got the prefrontal cortex as kind of the hero of this story, and then we've also got the amygdala as we could say the villain, but really the amygdala has had our back since day one. The amygdala is the center of our fear response. When we were evolving and we had to dodge leopards and hunt for food, and we were really always in a state of fight or flight, the amygdala kept us alive. It kept us on our toes. But now it's outdated, right? Because over time, we evolved this prefrontal cortex that's the house of all of our higher expression as human beings. So that's creative thinking, that's really locked in communication. So, when you're just simpatico with someone, and your communication is almost a flow state in and of itself. That's being controlled by the prefrontal cortex. But we've also got that creativity component. So when you're in flow and you are seamlessly drawing, creating music, writing, anything that you like to do, where you are receptive to inspiration and you become a channel of it, the prefrontal cortex is playing a huge part in governing that. So, another special thing that it does, though, is it regulates the amygdala when it's strong enough. When you develop your prefrontal cortex to a certain extent, it will be able to regulate the fear response. That's why there's some people who can enter into a higher pressure situation, like we encounter daily in trading, and be able to act in a way that's more composed and level-headed and less impulsive. And generally that leads to a better outcome. And of course in trading that looks like profits. And really in life that looks like profits. It's just you transpose money for well-being. So updating or upgrading this component of our computer called the prefrontal cortex helps us on really every level. And now how do we do that? Well, if you've ever focused light through a magnifying glass or seen it in a cartoon, you know that beam of light, once it's focused, the spot that it's focused on gets really hot, gets really active. And if you focus it on like a leaf, you will set the leaf on fire. So you're going to create a reaction with your focus. Or if you rub a certain part of your body, let's say your legs fucking sore from a workout or something, you bring that heat to that part of the body and it creates a reaction there. So essentially, localizing focus is going to bring energy to that area. And that's something you can test and prove over and over again. Well, meditation works similarly. So, how do you go about it, right? How do you go about upgrading your hardware to, in turn, upgrade your software? Brain consciousness. Upgrade the brain, achieve a higher state of consciousness. Well, most people, or a lot of people, they struggle with meditation because we live in a very stimulating culture. And so a lot of people's main issue is that they have a difficult time. So some people find it impossible to quiet their mind. And really, we have the impression that meditation is supposed to be this immediate cessation of all thought. Now, that's something that's achieved over time, but imagine that you want to play tennis. You don't just step on the court having never played tennis or having played very little tennis and just you're great. No, there's techniques that you practice over time and you become more and more familiar with tennis. And now these states that one achieves, that you enter into during meditation, are very similar. And so it's important that you have realistic expectations and also a technique, something that you can do repetitively instead of just taking shots in the dark. So I'll give you guys one of the greatest gifts that's ever been given to me. This changed my life many years ago. And it continues to do so. So this is a very simple technique. It's been perfected over thousands of years, and feel free to DM me if you want the, story of the origins of this. But essentially, great sages over thousands of years have perfected this science. And so one of the fruits of this science is this technique. It's actually kind of a sequence, kind of like when you work out. So what you're going to do is you're going to sit down comfortably with your spine straight. And you can sit cross-legged or you can sit in a chair. If you have to, because of any kind of physical limitations, you can lay down, but it's suggested to be straight with that spine erect, but relaxed. And this next step is optional, but if you find that you're spiritually inclined or religious, then an invocation is very helpful, just to call in the higher intelligence of the universe or the love of God or, whatever you want to and feel comfortable calling it. So once you've done your invocation, if you choose to do it, if not, that's okay too. But once you've done your invocation, you're going to close your eyes. This is the part that we're all familiar with, but now we need techniques. Because instead of trying to get rid of the mind, which is a Herculean task, we need to put the mind to good use. So, very simple. And there's other techniques if you want them, but these are just really user-friendly ones. So, step 1 is, once you've closed your eyes, we're going to do what's called measured breathing. And you can adjust this, but let's say you want to breathe in to the count of 5 or 6. Let's say 6 to honor the whole, Tesla model. So let's say you breathe in to the count of 6. You hold then to the count of 6. And you breathe out to the count of 6. But like I said, this could be 4, this could be 5. Ultimately you're getting 4, 4, 4, 3, 3, 3, 5, 5, 5, 6, 6, 6. Ooh, scary. But they all wind up being angel numbers, which is not the point, but it's kind of cool. So let's say that you chose, I don't know, 7, because 777s are cool. And it still plays into our Tesla model. So, going to breathe in to the count of 7. Hold for the count of 7. Breathe out for the count of 7. And you can decide how many times you want to do that. Maybe you have 3 rounds of measured breathing. And now that you've done that, we have the next step. Now, this next step is, again, obviously incorporating the breath. And it's kind of a silent anthem or mantra, or whatever word you're comfortable with. Remember, these are just terms. Science has terms, but we're all studying the same thing. So, and this again is an ancient anthem or mantra, so it's proven effective over time is what matters. So it is Hong Sa. And what you're doing as you're breathing in, with that inhalation, you're listening for it. It's like you're listening for it on the breath. And just subtly, mentally repeating Hong. So inhale. You can kind of hear that hung or hung even, whatever works better, the O or the U, but hung, hear that. And then on the exhalation, saw. Helps. You want to do it with the mouth closed, by the way. If you want some extra effectiveness and meditative brownie points, there is a little hack. So if you curl your tongue back like that and touch the tip of the tongue to the roof of your mouth, just behind where it's like rough, so aim for the soft palate, and you can Google that if you need an image for where the soft palate is. But you touch the tip of your tongue to the roof and a little back of your mouth. It's not a strain, just where it feels soft. That's creating a circuit. And all of this is just about helping the energy to flow up the spine, because we want the energy to be flowing upwards. We want it to be flowing towards the higher centers. You could call them chakras. If you're not into that, you could just say towards the higher centers of the brain, prefrontal cortex. So, what you're going to do is you're just Hong Sa. If you want to do that tongue touch, that's helping the energy to conduct itself, but you do not have to. You do not have to. Just any effort that you make here will benefit you. So, you're going to do Hong Sa, breathing in, hearing Hong, and breathing out, mentally hearing, kind of chanting Sa, and it gets to a point where you don't even have to be kind of mentally chanting it. It's like your breath and the mental repetition of Hong and Sa become one. And this all happens naturally over time. And what Hong Sa means, literally, is I am spirit. Now, if you are coming from the Christian spiritual system, you can imagine this as the Holy Spirit, even though the Holy Spirit is really all-pervasive, IMO. But if you're not coming from the Christian system, you can just imagine this as, spirit. Because, again, really, spirit is a very inclusive thing. So, you're breathing in Hong, I am, Sa, spirit. And it's not just some hippy-dippy mantra. It's because it's been spoken over so much time by sages throughout the ages. It's been steeped in a vibration. There's a kind of effectiveness that's baked into it. And once you practice it yourself, a few times, you'll see. So let's go over this sequence. So step 1, measured breathing. As many rounds as you're comfortable with. Fucking choking on quinoa. And, it could be as many or as few rounds as you're comfortable with. Keep it simple. Keep it joyous. You don't want it to be something intimidating. Otherwise, you're going to have to drag yourself to it. Meditation is such a calming, enriching, and beautiful thing, and it's the easiest thing in the world. But if you make it hard for yourself, you're going to kind of lock yourself out of a really pleasant room. So make it approachable and easy and let it grow over time. So what you're going to do is you're going to do that step 1. You're going to do the measured breathing, many rounds as you want. Step 2, you're going to do a few rounds of Hong Sa, as many as you like. Breathing in, hearing Hong, breathing out, hearing Sa. On the breath. It's really beautiful. The breath almost sings it. You can hear it and feel it. And then step 3, and this is the icing on the cake. You're going to bring your awareness right here to the point between the eyebrows, just a little above. But as long as it's about here, just at this point between the eyebrows, you're in the right spot. And now, what this is doing, scientifically, is it's bringing that focused beam of laser-like concentration to this center of your brain. You are watering the prefrontal cortex. You're feeding it Miracle-Gro, and that Miracle-Gro is your conscious awareness. Now, why do we do the other techniques first? Your conscious awareness is diluted when you begin to meditate. Every time you sit down, until you are a veteran, I'm talking like way more than 10 years, we all have scattered consciousness to some degree when we first sit down. So the quality of your concentration, the quality of your Miracle-Gro is going to be so much more potent after a few kind of warming up techniques that bring your state of consciousness and focus into really the optimal place to then feed the Miracle-Gro to the prefrontal cortex. So what do you do there? Well, you've done your measured breathing. You've done your Hong Sa. Now, all that's left to do is you drop all techniques, don't worry about how you're breathing, and just silently keep your focus here. And you can envision a light here, anything that might help you. And when the mind wanders, because it will, you just gently bring your focus back here. And keep in mind that tongue, you can still have that up, and if it's something that isn't too much for you, it could be very helpful. And when your awareness is here, it's like you entered Hawaii. Hawaii is always available to us. A paradise that exists within is always available to us. And the more time you spend inside of it, the more it's reflected in your outward reality, in your relationships with other people, and your relationships with the whole of that outward reality. And it'll also help your trading. So try that sequence out, and I hope that it works wonders for all of you. But it's going to take a relaxed discipline, just like trading. If you do it once or twice, you might get some benefit, maybe. But this is something that you consistently practice and develop. And over time, it gets easier and easier to enter in these states. But you do it, try to do it daily. Even if it's just for a small amount of time, 5 to 10 minutes. 2 minutes if 5 is too much for you. But I guarantee, once you do 2, once you're at 2, you're going to want to do 5. But, keep it simple and keep it relaxed and consistent. Immense love to you all.